mind-bending telekinesis to jaw-dropping super strength, these cinematic superpowers are about to take your excitement to a whole new level. Get ready for an electrifying countdown as we explore the top 25 superhero abilities in movies. Let's start with Makari, and it's the classic super duper speed power. Just like most speedsters, she can easily outrun most of her enemies just by how fast she is. If they're slow, they won't even know that they're already flying from her punch. She can easily travel for distances, gain momentum, and barrel through her opponents. She can do these numerous times in just a second if she really wants to. Even Icarus, a downgraded Superman, just tanks all the attacks with his super strong body, and he can't even counterattack. If you can't predict a speedster's next move, you're pretty much done, since how can you attack them back? Also, with her equipment and abilities, she can generate a shockwave that can deal an AoE damage, and it's freaking strong. She can change the shockwave by traveling the whole world a few times in just seconds. With her speed, she can also generate a strong wind that can form into tornadoes that can block the visions of her enemies. She's pretty much an all-rounder. Okay, before we move to the next entry, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Babbel. You know, a film buff like myself often comes across language barriers when I'm watching foreign films. Sure, subs always help, but I like to understand the actual tone and context of the words being spoken, which is why I decided to go with one of the top language learning apps in the world, Babbel. Apart from understanding foreign cinema, I also travel quite a bit and have friends from different countries across the globe too. Babbel has seriously helped me when it comes to having real-life conversations with my buddies, or even chatting with the locals whenever I'm on a holiday. Not only has Babbel been scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language within 3 weeks, their lessons are curated and designed by legit language teachers, which means it's a completely professional experience. To top it off, they even offer a 20-day money-back guarantee. That's some Better Call Saul level confidence right there. Babbel's got a variety of subscriptions on offer, and I've personally chosen the lifetime subscription. Parce que c'est très bon. That's French for because it's very good. See, your boy's gonna turn into Mr. Worldwide at this pace. I've decided to sweeten the pot for my TV fam, so I'm gonna give you 60% off on your Babbel subscription simply by clicking on the link in my description. So, what are you waiting for? Just do it. Next on our list is a classic superpower from a superhero that doesn't really feel like one. The Boys has been one of the fan favourite series, and with Soldier Boy finally fighting against Homelander, things are just heating up. Of course, he can tank laser beams from not one but 2 supers using his shield, and didn't even die when Butcher blasted his eyes out. He also has super strength and threw that blonde on the roof with just 1 slap from his shield. I mean, even without his shield, this man is a complete menace because, well, he can kill almost anyone he wants. He's clearly on par with the big boys like Homelander, and he has the arrogance and power to prove it. I mean, he throws with just about anyone, and even once beat Black Noir to the point where he traumatized the man. Soldier Boy is basically Captain America if he had severe anger issues and didn't really care about the good boy image of his. How does he compare with the others in the series? Well, I could say he's one of the big 3 because I didn't include the best part. Soldier Boy can generate energy blasts and doesn't really age like humans do. You already know from the name alone that Shang-Chi is gonna have one badass superpower. In terms of versatility and just pure awesomeness, it has to be up there too, because just look at what they can do with these rings. It's like the whips Ivan Vanko had in Iron Man 2, but more magic-y and cooler. I mean, Shang-Chi also knows martial arts and some ancient ones at that, because without it, the 10 rings would only be a really long armband. But looks aren't the only thing they've got going for them. The 10 rings can be shot as projectiles, enhance the user's strength, emit energy concussion waves, and can even be used to literally block bullets. I mean, what can these rings not do? Wenwu, the previous user, even killed a man by shooting a single ring and targeting his head. You have a firearm, a strength enhancer, a whip, and a shield all in one. The power of the rings also increases depending on how many the user has. That's why it's important they get them all, but with some ancient Asian martial arts, Shang-Chi can basically go full on Kung Fu Panda and steal the rings in the middle of an attack.
That's the spirit. Yeah.
Imagine being a vampire that can fight off Spider-Man, which is one of the best Marvel superheroes out there. Morbius's powers comes from his own craziness to cure his rare and fatal blood disease. In return for this crazy idea, he gains superhuman strength, regeneration and speed. Crazy to think that this regeneration power is comparable to Wolverine, and that's why he can tank being smashed around or falling from a very tall building. Obviously, he also has the power of limited flight since he's now considered as a half-bat. But that's not all. Being a vampire also comes with the classic power to somehow hypnotize others. Bro could just hypnotize Bill Gates and then own Microsoft, instantly becoming a billionaire. To test his limits, he faced off against Milo, and there's no doubt that he's a much stronger vampire compared to Morbius. As you can see from the start of their fight, he easily manhandles Morbius like a child. In the end, Morbius calls an army of bats to attack Milo and defeats him in the process. It's like Ant-Man, but instead of ants, well, he has bats, which are much scarier and creepier. Given the Vision was created by Ultron to serve as his body, it's not surprising that he's almost the perfect android out there in the MCU. With his abilities to phase through solid matters, he can easily dodge most of the physical attacks given by his opponents. You can't even capture him, since he can just pass through almost anything, which means if there was a maze, he'd be the first to escape. Well, he also has the ability of flight, strength like no other, and his unimaginable durability considering that he's made of vibranium, the same element that's from Black Panther's armor. That's not all, he also has the Mind Stone, one of the powerful Infinity Stones. With this Mind Stone, he can heal his vibranium body no matter how severe the damage. And let's not forget about his high-powered energy beams. It can easily melt through almost anything, comparable to Superman's laser.
Something just flew in me!
Although, unlike others, it's not from his eyes, but given the power, it's no joke weapon in Vision's hand, or should I say, forehead.
It was perfect. Perfect.
Let's not forget about the fact that he's an android, so it's pretty certain that he's unscalable when it comes to having a supercomputer in his brain.
But I'm not the true Vision, only a conditional Vision.
Flying blasters.
Okay, now give me blades! Okay, now give me...
Moving on, we have what seems to be one of the most unique superpowers in any superhero movie we've ever seen. Blue Beetle basically has an armor that's like an organic Iron Man. It also gives him a ton of supernatural powers like being able to fly, healing, energy absorption, shoot out drones, a cryoblaster, create shields, and basically anything he can think of. The colors also look really cool, and in his battle against Carapax, it managed to protect him from all sorts of attacks and shot out an energy blast from his chest. I mean, I'm starting to think it's not really that unique, but him getting that Final Fantasy sword was still awesome. Think of a mix between Iron Man and Spider-Man's nonsense talking, and that's Blue Beetle. Even at the edge of death, he still manages to be pretty funny, but compared to the others on this list, it may not be that powerful. One advantage is that it gives him the versatility and regeneration, but other than that, it can easily be one-punched by Superman. At least the AI can be funny.
Something else, Gaji!
Accessing energy reactor.
There we go!
Another one with immortal capabilities, which makes superheroes really troublesome when you're just a small-time villain. His contract with Khonshu is that if the god still isn't done, then he can't be done too. I don't know if it's a fortunate thing or not, but our hero has dissociative identity disorder. Might be because he's always close with the chaos. Although it might be troublesome sometimes, but it can be so useful when it comes to special circumstances, since his personalities have different capabilities that are helpful in given situations. His clothes also change with the given personality, which makes it quite convenient to know what personality is taking over. Like Deadpool, Moon Knight is a very funny man and also a weapons expert. His fight with Harrow is really not in his favour, since he still needs his girlfriend's assistance. Well, I guess every guy needs that girlfriend buff every once in a while. Fortunately for him, the most violent and powerful personality takes over and easily takes down Harrow. There's still more to Moon Knight because being an avatar for a god isn't that simple. Wonder Woman is basically the female Superman, and that's not just because they have similar abilities. She is insanely strong, to the point where she can fight on par with beings like Steppenwolf and Ares himself. Just so you know, Ares is the literal god of war, and even though Wonder Woman looked like she was losing it, it was still an impressive feat. The Sword of Athena is her main offensive weapon, and let's just say if you touch the blade, you might lose a finger or two. There's also her whip that forces you to tell the truth, and her invaluable shield. Her gauntlets could also create shockwaves that were strong enough to blow Steppenwolf away. I mean, at the end of their fight, she was the one that decapitated him in front of Darkseid. She's just a badass woman through and through, and I can't wait for someone like her to step on me. I just hope she doesn't crush my head because I need my eyes to be looking at her beauty. I'm kidding, but still, she's just the epitome of a really strong, independent woman.
Women.
Do you know what's the ultimate girl power? It's Wonder herself. Because if Wonder Woman has strength, she's just pure hacks. This woman can shake the whole power structure of the multiverse if she wants to. She even takes on Thanos, arriving in the middle of the war like the goddess of destruction. With just a few exchanges, the battle was instantly decided. If it's not a war, but instead a 1v1, she can easily dispatch a strong opponent like Thanos, especially if she goes all out. With just her energy manipulation and telekinesis, throwing huge debris towards Thanos and firing some reddish energy easily exhausted the Mad Titan. When she lifts him, that's when you know that the fight's over, since Thanos can't even do a thing. What's more impressive is that Thanos can't help it but to call for backup like the scaredy cat that he really is.
I don't even know who you are.
All these powers are just like in her base form, and she can still become the evil entity Scarlet Witch. In this form, she basically made everyone in Kamar-Taj, the home of the strongest sorcerers, run for their lives, and even Doctor Strange wasn't a match for her. Now just imagine this alter ego fighting against Thanos. He wouldn't have even stood a chance because even the Illuminati were completely obliterated. Wanda is just one scary entity.
You took everything from me.
The fight for the future of the Atlantis Kingdom is totally fire, or cold, or wet. With this superhuman strength, Aquaman has no problem battling King Orm toe-to-toe, or should I say, flipper to flipper. It's pretty clear that Aquaman is leading the whole fight. With his golden trident and water manipulation power, he gathers seawater to power up himself like an avatar. He wields the trident like a staff, and with water powering it up, he spins it around him. Just like him spinning the trident left his opponent with nothing to do but to let himself just be defeated. Of course, that's not all. Aside from his inhumane ability, he can also control the weather. Now it's so convenient if he doesn't like the weather that day. Aside from all of that, although it's quite common knowledge, Aquaman can easily communicate with any marine animal. Just to add to his coolness, Aquaman's pretty much invincible when he's under the water. His speed will become comparable to some speedster, so how surprising is that? Although he needs to be under the water, it still makes him one of the strongest heroes of all time. In the vast DC universe, Dream of Sandman is practically one of the ceilings when it comes to power scaling. He's part of a group or absolute concept in DC called Endless. Without these so-called Endless, the universe can't function properly, so it's a roundabout way of saying that they're practically unkillable, since even the universe won't allow it and they're much stronger than gods. In the battle of Dream against Lucifer Morningstar, they played the game known as the oldest game. Although it's just somewhat a turn-based system on throwing concepts at each other, we can see how smart and powerful Dream really is. Can you imagine how powerful it is to turn into hope itself? Don't forget that he just outsmarted the devil.
I am a bird of prey, snake devouring, talons ripping.
We all know how great the original Black Panther was, but come on, you have to admit that Shuri's new Black Panther armor is just badass. She literally led her entire nation to fight a war, even though we still love the OG Chadwick Boseman. Shuri made sure that she's not just living in anyone's shadow. I mean, her new armor has tons of new features, so it was like upgrading from an iPhone 5 to an iPhone 13. Just like the others on this list, it can emit shockwaves, but what's interesting is that it absorbs kinetic energy to serve as its energy source. It gives the user superhuman abilities like increased speed, reflexes, senses, and strength. It gave Shuri the ability to fight against Namor in a one-on-one despite Namor being the superior of the two.
I am the Black Panther, and I'm here for retribution.
Not to mention, it's high-tech, and I mean really high-tech. And of course, at the hands of someone who's as smart as Shuri, its full potential can easily be unleashed. Like the other Black Panther suits, it's made of vibranium, which is more durable than almost any other material within the MCU.
Wakanda forever!
But what exactly is technology's greatest enemy? You may say hackers or a security breach, but no, it's just fire, because nothing will ever work if it's burnt to the ground. Golden Boy is one of the characters in one of the newest superhero shows named Gen V, and he doesn't disappoint. I mean, he literally bear-hugged the Professor until he basically became a burnt piece of meat. His thermokinesis is wild, and in the hands of someone who doesn't have any mercy, it's as dangerous as ever. Not only that, he also has super strength that can run faster than most humans. I just hate that it burns through his clothes, because I'd be super embarrassed fighting villains while butt naked in the middle of New York. At least it doesn't burn his hair, because being bald and naked is even worse. Golden Boy can even use it to the point where he can fly like a rocket, but we all know how it ended in Gen V. It was a really cool superpower that just didn't get the development it deserved. We already know this superpower is cool and all, but who knew it also had a chance to be really funny? Venom's symbiosis might also be a double-edged sword, because if not handled properly, it can result in the symbiote completely overpowering the user, just like how Carnage slapped his user's wife in the face. The symbiote also acts like a suit, or should I say a flesh mecha. Yep, I just described it as a flesh mecha. It can alter the user's body and can even save the host from fatal injuries. It's like they merge into one different entity altogether with its own biological makeup. Venom can turn his symbiote body into spikes, spears, and create sharp claws that could shred flesh like it was butter. There's also no limit as to how long and how much damage the symbiote can take, as long as it's not near a church bell. Also, there's fire, which is also another major weakness, but once Venom gets a split-second opening, he can run and instantly recover. The symbiote also acts as a pet that likes to eat humans every now and then.
Marriage trouble? Already? Time to die!
That's the spirit!
I mean us! We are going to die!
That was probably me.
Yep, we're not just talking about his sorcery, but the Eye of Agamotto that he used before. I mean, first off, the sorcery just looks, sounds, and even the attacks are cool. If it's wielded by someone like Doctor Strange, he can perform just about any spell that comes to mind. I mean, this man literally made song notes into projectiles. He can also perform different spells that conjure up weapons such as shields, energy blasters, swords, and more. Then there's the Eye of Agamotto, which was famously shown during the moment Doctor Strange said, "Dormammu, I've come to bargain," about 10,000 times.
I've come to bargain.
What do you want?
This ability is so overpowered that even Thanos had to claim it for himself so he could kill half the universe. I mean, if you make one of the strongest beings in the entire universe be annoyed to the point where he agrees to your terms, then it deserves to be on this list. Just imagine using the Eye of Agamotto to retake that test over and over again until you get a passing score. Now, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? There's also the part where he can instantly create portals, which is personally my favourite. I'd use it to finally not stand up if I want to get something from the fridge.
I don't
both just have to lose.
We're still in the MCU and we're not stopping anytime soon because Ant-Man's stomping his way onto our list. We all saw how Ant-Man popped off on Captain America's Civil War, but now he's against one of the most dangerous villains in the MCU. He might just have to take it up a notch.
And you're not getting out.
Well, he did exactly that during Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania when he fought Kang the Conqueror. I mean, even his ants have upgrades because after throwing hands, this man can literally use ants to try and kill you through their sheer numbers alone. Not to mention he has size shifting, which means he can make you, himself, or the ant to be super small or humongous.
1, 2, 3.
Just imagine fighting a man that can instantly shrink and grow to the size of a plane boarding tower. But what if he made an army of ants suddenly bigger? Well, he may very well have an unstoppable force that can even destroy nations and topple governments. You may have underestimated him, but just like Kang and his army, you might be swarmed by a sea of ants. It's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and he's coming at you swinging. Don't get me wrong, as much as possible, Spidey tries to avoid fighting, but when he needs to knock you out, he doesn't mess around. I mean, he's so strong that he could quite literally kill a man if he wanted, but he just holds back. It doesn't even help that the different Spider-Mans have different abilities, with Miguel being able to claw his way up a high-speed elevator.
It's Miles Morales.
The massive back muscles this man must have, seriously. There's also the Spidey sense that is basically just a built-in sensor that can help any Spider-Man dodge attacks and detect danger wherever they come from. But this doesn't only apply to Miles Morales because the Peter Parker played by Tom Holland was just so scary when he was full of bloodlust. His punch created an impact crater on the steel platform. Just imagine what would happen to your skull if you were hit with that. If it wasn't for the other Peter Parkers coming in to stop the fight, the Green Goblin would have just been a bloody mess and the first name on Peter's kill counter.
Stop pretending you know where you're going! I have a plan. I just haven't told you yet. If you don't know who Adam Warlock is, he's basically one of the most powerful beings to ever exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Guardians of the Galaxy just made him funny. I mean, his punch was enough to bend Nebula's torso and blast away Groot until only his health was left. His energy blast was so strong that it even turned a Ravager into just a skeleton. I mean, if they didn't make his entire personality extremely hilarious, he would have been one of the most strongest villains the Guardians have faced. Just look at Mantis' arm. He snapped it in half by just holding it. There's also the part where, just like Captain Marvel, he can heat up his body by manipulating cosmic energy and blast through ships like they're nothing. Basically, when you watch him in action, you'll instantly think, this is just an overpowered Deadpool, and you wouldn't be wrong. But instead of Deadpool, he's more chill and less, rated 18. Sure, you might think he's strong now, but just take a look at the comic version of Adam Warlock and you'll be amazed at what this man or being can do. Captain Marvel was literally the Avengers' saving grace when it came to the Infinity War because not only is she a tank, but she's quite literally a nuke at the same time. For me, she's like Superman but cooler. She can manipulate cosmic energy to the point where she can fly near the speed of light, can shoot photon blasts, and once single-handedly destroyed Ronan's fleet. She used her heat generation to just fly around and pierce through Ronan's capital ships, destroying them from the inside out. See, I wasn't kidding when I said she was just a nuke. It would be seriously scary to fight someone who harnesses the power of a star, so there's no surprise as to why Thanos considers her one of the biggest threats to his plan. When fully consumed by the binary, her powers increase tenfold, and through her aura alone, she can blow almost anyone away. Captain Marvel would then have enough power to just head-on receive a headbutt from Thanos himself, and even overpowered him. It wasn't until he used the Power Stone that he was able to defeat her, but without it, I'd say the Avengers wouldn't even have had a hard time. After to Thor, we have his eternal half-brother Loki, the god of mischief. We all liked Loki, even if he died about 3 times in the series and was more or less a douche, but hey, he redeemed himself when he got his own series, and dang, he's so overpowered. From god of mischief to god of stories, Loki has solidified himself as one of the most powerful characters in the multiverse. He quite literally is the one keeping everything together after he replaced He Who Remains. Interestingly, this Loki isn't the one that got choked to death by Thanos. It's actually a different variant that escaped his true fate, which is now, well, dying at the hands of Thanos. Now, Loki has the ability to not only move from one timeline to another, which not even someone like Doctor Strange could do, but he can also rewrite stories. No, I'm not talking about children's books, more like change the fate and destiny of any person he wishes. Basically, Loki has become this omnipotent being that, if he was still that arrogant and self-centered version of himself, could destroy the very fabric of time itself. Let's just be happy that he's turned into a good guy.
I knew you could do it.
You know what? Stormbreaker sounds like a place that you can find in Game of Thrones. Anyway, Thor got a major upgrade, and it seems like he's not only the god of thunder, but he's also the god of pure awesomeness. I mean, I did like him more when he was rocking that short hairstyle and eye patch, but I guess he had to go back to the OG and Love and Thunder. He has the usual superhuman strength, speed, and durability, but with Stormbreaker, his new love, by his side, then he gets 100 times stronger. Stormbreaker was strong enough to decapitate Thanos in one go, and Thor's lightning could fry hundreds of those horrific creatures Thanos and his crew were letting loose on Wakanda. Not to mention the way Thor uses it is just wild, especially in Infinity War and Endgame. He didn't have any mercy and was constantly chopping off enemies left and right. There's also the fact that Thor can also still wield Mjolnir, but it was kind of destroyed in Love and Thunder again when he fought against the God Butcher. Well, when it comes to a debate about the strongest Avenger, we might have the answer we need.
Don't touch my things.
Black Adam is one of the newest superheroes, and he doesn't disappoint. The Rock did an amazing job portraying this character. I mean, this man didn't back down and was strong enough to fight the Justice Society, including Dr. Fate, another powerful being in the DC universe. Black Adam is basically Shazam, but more badass and sometimes a bit less annoying. Of course, since he has the powers of a god, Black Adam has godly attributes which most are named from Egyptian gods. He could even shoot lightning out from his hands, just like a certain Dark Lord of the Sith from a series known as Star Wars. It was potent enough to the point an entire car disintegrated almost instantly. One punch from this guy also managed to knock out an overgrown Atom Man. What can The Rock not do? He used to drive cars in Fast and Furious, become a demigod as Hercules, and now he's a freaking anti-hero. I'm just waiting for the time where this man starts fighting aliens while wielding Mjolnir on his right and Excalibur on his left.
We need backup down here.
Who doesn't know this ability? I mean, it's totally iconic to the point where some people think Flash might have even pioneered the super speed power. Not only is this man faster than light itself, but he can also use his speed to generate electrical energy, which he can then convert to lightning strikes. He can also access the Speed Force, which quite literally just pushes space and time forward, which also means that this man can travel to both the future and the past. He can also accelerate time itself, which is just a wicked skill. But it doesn't end there, because the Flash could also travel between different universes. There's also the part where, because of his super speed and the Speed Force, he thinks faster than any human to the point where he's effectively immune to any sort of mind control.
You're ready.
Imagine just getting pummeled by punches left and right at the speed of light without even seeing who's your enemy. People just see the Flash as the superhero that's faster than Superman, but don't underestimate him because he can instantly kill you.
We have one more job to do, and that's to keep this bridge from collapsing.
We mentioned Black Adam, but do you know where he got those powers? Exactly where Shazam the OG got them. This man fought the literal dragon from Game of Thrones and he didn't flinch one bit. I mean, instead of dodging, he just flew straight into the fire breath and proceeded to give it the right hook uppercut combo of a lifetime. Interestingly, the word Shazam has a neat little Easter egg. Each letter has a different meaning. S for the wisdom of Solomon, H for the strength of Hercules, A for the stamina of Atlas, Z for the power of Zeus, another A for the courage of Achilles, and M for the speed of Mercury. Basically, he's the perfect all-in-one superhero.
Did your dad have super speed?
And it would have been much better if he wasn't a kid, but it is what it is. Shazam could also use the Staff of the Gods, which by its name itself is a pretty overpowered weapon. But instead of firing bolts out of it, he uses it as a spear, which is kind of weird, but still pretty cool to see, especially when he uses it to defeat Calypso and Ladon. Finally, at number 1 and at the top of our list is the OG Superman that set the trend of superhero movies.
Not impressed.
All over the world. The one and only, the legendary Superman. We all know who he is and what he's done for the world. Maybe from comics, movies or cartoons, this man is the epitome of a superhero. In the recent Snyder Cut Justice League, he pumped off and saved the world once more by basically tanking an axe swing from Steppenwolf and then just freezing it with what basically looked like a whisper. Take note that this version of Steppenwolf effectively soloed the entire Justice League, and Superman is out here treating him like complete fodder. I mean, you could really feel that the punches he threw really hurt because it took time for Steppenwolf to even stand up. He quite literally has world-destroying abilities and the ability to inspire literal superhuman beings who are on the brink of defeat. He has everything. Superman is him. And even though it's simple, he has the strongest superhero ability of all time. Also, don't forget to check out the link in my description for 60% off on your Babbel subscription. Alright then, au revoir. That's French for goodbye. So that's our pick for the top 25 strongest superhero abilities of all time. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe and share. See you on the next one.